wasn't until 1815, when the Americans took possession of Lake Erie from the British Navy, that Ohio migration picked up again. Settlers would once again set out over 100 miles for a small piece of land that they've never seen. One area on the west side of the Cuyahoga River, south of Brooklyn Township, is referred today as the city of Parma. However, during this time, Parma was still considered a portion of the Brooklyn Township. Very few Europeans have ventured into this unbroken forest of the Western Reserve, except for some abrasive woodsmen that traded with the Indians. The first settlers to arrive in the Parma area was the Fay family. This family traveled with an ox and a horse from Albany, New York. They followed the Lake Erie shoreline into the Western Reserve area. They then proceeded to take a southern trail called the Cuyahoga Trail, along the eastern ridge of the Cuyahoga River. This particular trail went as far south as the Tuscarawas River. However, the Fay family crossed over the river where Rockside Road is now located to get to their purchased lot. They then took another Indian trail westward to where the Pearl and Ridge Road intersection is located. The Fays then had to cut through brush and briars the rest of the way to their destination, which is located on Theota Avenue. The destiny of the Parma forest gave an unwelcome appearance. The wildlife was abound with porcupines, otters, mink, and bobcats. However, Parma also consisted of ferocious beasts that stalked the night, such as mountain lions, bears, and wolves. At times, settlers would notice wolves off into the distance, observing them among the trees. Development of the Parma area was slow because of a thorny climbing shrub with little green flowers called greenbriers. This shrub grew over large areas, making it nearly impossible to penetrate through. This forced settlers to take long detours that added days to their journey. Traveling the dirt roads, wagons would usually be pulled by a horse or an ox. At times, a wrong trail would be taken, leading nowhere, causing hours wasted having to backtrack. In the heavy forest, faith in God back then was a necessity in order to continue to move forward. Nighttime came quickly under the thick forest canopy. The eerie sounds could be very unsettling at night. While sleeping outdoors, the men would take turns keeping watch while the women and children slept. Nighttime thunderstorms that occasionally blew in from the southwest were most terrifying, with lightning flashes lighting up the whole forest. Sometimes traveling settlers would cross paths with strange characters. They were referred to as nomads who were not interested in farming or contributing to society. They would be found living in abandoned cabins or even caves and would just move deeper into the forest when others arrived in the area. Some of these were of noble descent and educated who just wanted to disappear from society for personal reasons. In 1811, an earthquake aroused the Parma settlers, which added fear to the rumors of another Indian uprising in the area. Fortunately, shortly after that, the news arrived of the Indians' defeat at the Battle of Tippecanoe by the Americans. By 1817, two other families arrived in the Parma area. One family came from Mohawk Indian Valley, New York, to set up a sawmill and an inn called the Old Stone Tavern at Stump and Pearl Road. The other group from Windsor, Connecticut, settled at Pearl and Old York Road area. By 1818, most of the Parma area was still an unbroken forest. A trail was cleared of brush that went from Cleveland to Strongsville, Ohio. However, the dirt road still had to dodge around huge, thick trees. Traveling on these dirt paths was at its worst during the spring season because of its rain and mud. Stagecoaches paid extra money for men to walk along the coach to help push it through muddy sections. Deer were hunted at night from a canoe in the metro parks. With a lantern placed in the bow of the boat, the deer stood in a paralyzed state as they stared at the strange light slowly coming down the river. The hunter would then shoot when they saw the light reflecting in the animal's large eyes. On January 30th, 1818, the Ohio governor sent a message to the legislation for the need for improvements of the 100 public roads that were being used to travel on. By 1819, the Fays opened up the first stagecoach inn and tavern in Parma, along the Indian Trail that became known as the Old Stage Road, near Pearl and Ridge Road. It was a double log cabin that contained a sleeping loft for weary travelers traveling to and fro from Medina, Ohio. In the summer of 1820, a new stage line began operating. It ran from Parma to Columbus, Ohio. A turnpike company was formed called the Wayne, Medina, and Cuyahoga Turnpike Company. Then in 1823, a turnpike was planned that ran from Cleveland through Parma and Worcester, which is US 42 Pearl Road today. This became the main artery of travel through the state of Ohio. In addition to regular passenger coaches, this also allowed for much larger and stronger wagons that were used for carrying heavier merchandise which arrived from the east. By 1820, a stagecoach line was established called the Cleveland-Columbus Line. Also, that same year, another family from Vermont settled in the area of Broadview Road in Brooklyn Township. In 1825, after a schoolmaster arrived in the Parma area, the first school, along with the Justice of the Peace, was formed. The Parma area, which was still considered a portion of the Brooklyn Township, took on the name Greenbrier Village, named after its thorny green bush in the area. The following year, it was changed to Parma by the County Cuyahoga Commissioners, becoming a township. Being named Parma was largely due to Dr. David Long, who had recently returned from Italy. He was impressed with the splendor and beauty of the area, and it reminded him of Parma, Italy. Dr. Long persuaded the Early Township that the territory deserved a better name than Greenbrier. In March of 1827, Parma was divided into road districts. In 1832, another family from Vermont settled in the area of Broadview Road in Brooklyn Township. The following year, 5 more families arrived from Maine and settled along Pearl Road. As the population increased, animals in the area became more of a nuisance. Numerous black and gray squirrels, along with other rodents, fed on farmers' grains and gardens, along with plentiful wild turkeys ravaging crops. Eventually, a law was implemented to enlist young males of military age to bring in no less than 100 squirrel scalps a year to township officials. Timber rattlers, or yellers, referred to because of their eerie yellowish appearance, were feared by settlers because of their fatal venom. A common practice would be, if bitten by one of these serpents, there would be an amputation. For this very reason, wild hogs imported from New England were sought after because of their immunity from snake poison. Settlers would turn loose to purchase pigs on their land to forage and help control the snake population. These hogs would kill and at times even devour the deadly snakes. Eventually, the hogs would be rounded up and taken to the market. By the mid-1820s, an underground railroad for helping slaves escape the South began. The state of Ohio had many of these hidden trail lines connecting the Ohio River to Lake Erie, with barns and sheds and farmhouses making up the many stations along the way. One of these underground stations was located here on Pearl Road in Parma. Stage conductors worked nights helping slaves escape to as far away as Vermilion and Ashtabula, Ohio. In 1837, the Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Anti-Slave Society was organized.
Howdy, Tim. Hello, Tom. What do you think of that, Bob? That's what we need, boy.
The taverns in the area served as a livery stable and hotel for men travelers and their animals passing through. Even though the great hunt that took place on Christmas Eve in Hinckley, Ohio in 1818 cleared out many predators, there were still plenty of bears and wolves in the Parma area. These beasts presented dangers right outside the settlers' doors. The most dangerous threat to the Parma settlers was the bear who loved pork. These beasts were known to take any risk to get at the pigs, including entering pens in broad daylight. Besides killing livestock such as sheep, goats, and even horses, they also cause extensive damage to crops and cabins. Another dangerous predator was wolves. These animals were a terrible nuisance for early settlers and their most valuable livestock. Wolves have been known to kill up to 100 sheep a year over a long range of territory. A wolf's skull is larger than a domestic dog, therefore allowing more brain mass. These predators have been known to study farmers at a distance for hours, learning how to open gates to fenced-in pens. As families slept, they would be awakened by blood-curdling sounds as predators tore apart their flocks. The local farmers would report finding numerous wolf tracks circling their cabins in the early morning hours. No matter what precautions farmers took to protect their livestock, wolves always seemed to outsmart them. In 1842, an organized hunt was arranged for Parma, similar to the one carried out in Hinckley, Ohio. This hunt was advertised to recruit men in the area and beyond to join in on the hunt. Similar to the Hinckley hunt, hunters encircled a large area of territory, moving slowly towards the center, corralling the animals in one area. Farmers carried muskets while others carried pitchforks, clubs, and spears, killing any game that came in sight. At times it would take several shots from rifles just to bring down one bear. This hunt lasted for several days and annihilated these dangerous predators from the Parma area. The game animals such as deer, rabbits, and wild turkeys were divided up for food, while wolves and bears were skinned for their hides. Bears were also known for their rich oils, which were beneficial for use on beards. By 1850s, apple orchards and cherry trees littered the many farms. Because most of the Parma land was used for farming, the population was low. After the population increased, decided to lay down plank roads from the York Road all the way to the Cleveland city limits. In 1849, the disease cholera struck the Parma area after a sick traveler arrived at the Hodgman Tavern near Pearl Road, which is now part of the city of Parma Heights. Unfortunately, the disease ended up killing many of the area's residents. By 1850, many of the original log cabins were replaced with framed houses. A country hotel was built on Old Pearl Street and Broadview Road for those travelers passing through the area. In February of 1861, many Parma residents traveled into Cleveland to catch a glimpse of newly elected President Abraham Lincoln, who passed through before continuing on to Washington, D.C. to assume his presidential duties. When the Civil War actually broke out, it affected the residents of Parma as much as it affected the city of Cleveland. Young fathers from Parma were drafted into the military while others volunteered. Some paid substitutes to take their place so they could stay home to attend their farms. A recruiting station was set up outside the Parma limits in Seven Hills on Broadview Road. Army recruits could be seen drilling in the fields behind the Emerson House on Pearl Road in Parma Heights. On the opposite side of town, the 10th Volunteers were training south of Snow Road, off Broadview Road on Starlight Drive. Artist soldier Henry Frolic drew the 107th Regiment Ohio Volunteers Infantry at Brooklyn Station, where the Cleveland Zoo is now located. There were many casualties among the Parma residents who served in the Civil War. Prior to the construction of the bridge over the Big Creek Valley, it would take hours for a wagonaire to cross over the valley to the other side. The first bridge to be built over the valley was around 1890. However, this first bridge was a low wooden structure which still left sizable hills to climb on both ends. Then, around 1897, this low wooden bridge was replaced with a second bridge, which was a new style structure made of wood and steel beams. This would be called the Brooklyn-Brighton High Level Bridge, which stretched 1,575 feet across.
Boy, am I sleepy. Now for a good night's rest. Come on, get out of here, you old pussycat.
Figaro, 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 Figaro. Figaro. Figaro, Figaro.
Figaro?
Figaro. Figaro.
That'll teach you to keep quiet. Now maybe I can get some sleep.
When Irish eyes are smiling, all the world seems bright and gay.
Take that, you old cat.
And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your heart.
Gee whiz, I'll be a nervous wreck if this keeps up. I gotta get some sleep. Yes? Darn that old cat. I'll fix him this time, once and for all. Here, kitty, here, pussycat, here, kitty, here, kitty, here. Now I got you, and I'm gonna blow your head off.
Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the
Now stop it.
wind blows
Now stop. Quit that. Poor dear.
And the umbrellas too many today to love toodle-ee. I'll fix your umbrellas and go on my way, singing toodle-ee. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Where'd you get those eyes? Make love with a guitar if you should meet a sweet senorita. A romance with a guitar. La ta 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 ta, ta 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 ta. Farewell to thee. Farewell to thee. Farewell. Farewell to thee.
It killed him. Oh, I didn't want to do it, but I just had to. He was driving me crazy.